I shake my head every like 20 minutes, and I have to put it down and then go do something non-emasculating. So
You're not even to the best part.
oh, I don't doubt it.
Oh, the ha ha ha.
Welcome to the Spindash Retro Gaming Podcast. Prepare yourself for the joy of classic gaming, fired straight into your delicate little ear holes. Fire away.
God, you're angry tonight. It's great.
I'm so mad at the internet, and it's working fine now.
For you.
Put it away. We don't like that. Put that.
I forgot my
shit
drinks. I was so.
My shitty body.
You dying, John?
No, I'm just shitty body. That's what the joke is.
Away. What did you do to your shirt? Because you look like you've seen that commercial where the guy goes and he goes on the date, and she's like, "You look comfy." When the guy like has his V-neck and it becomes a U-neck, that's what you look like.
It's got a very long zipper for comfort.
You look comfy.
You look
Yeah,
comfy.
loungewear,
Oh, boys.
It's been a
athleisure.
bit. It's been a while.
Let's get into pickups. Let's get this party rolling tonight. Because
it's been a while since I got a little stack.
Yeah, I figured you were going to be our go-to. John, do you have anything before Nick takes over for 15 minutes?
No, I bought more Magic cards.
John's going all MTG on us.
What are you
Yeah,
drinking,
boy.
by the way?
Oh, wine.
Oh, very good.
It was a long day, and it's going to be a long tomorrow, so I'm just preparing.
Oh, same here. I hear that.
I was excited to talk to you tonight, so I busted out the scotch for this. I know what we're
that's
getting
the
into.
good stuff.
Oh, one
Yeah.
moment. I gotta go get my.
Get your beverage fridge in your Trinity. Look at that fucking TV. Oh, I can't spoil it.
Yeah, he's going to have to talk about it. Yeah, my pickups have been tame.
Yeah,
I bought some arcade buttons, and I bought 50 feet of VGA cable to cut up into things.
just putting your R2D2 parts together.
Pretty much what it looks like. Someone's gonna think because I'm ordering all these like some weird parts from China. They're like, "Oh my god, he's a terrorist."
We're gonna all hang out the next time, and you're gonna be like, "Hold on, let me bring my controller," and it's gonna be the size of a fridge.
Well, Matt,
It's-
since you've been on this kick, I've been like on arcade repair TikTok. So all I see is like these guys just fully on like restoring all these old arcade machines, like doing everything. What was the most recent one? Someone. I don't know why whoever did this originally, but it was originally a Mortal Kombat cabinet that was turned into a Golden Tee cabinet.
Why?
Exactly.
No.
So he repaired it, and what they did, they painted over the Mortal Kombat cabinet with latex paint. So he took isopropyl alcohol and just like cleaned it all off, and then he just
Not all
refurbished
heroes
it.
wear capes.
Yeah. I saved a video, so I'll have to send it to you, but he does a really good job on it. But I was like, oh, who would put Golden Tee in? Why? Why?
Well,
It's in every shitty bar.
I've got to get this arcade control thing going because the longer I play on Dreamcast, the more I physically injure myself.
Those controllers aren't great.
Oh my god, that D-pad! I've got like a blister on my thumb from trying to roll stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like that.
Yeah,
the D-pad's a little tall.
it's tall, it's rough. So when
Yeah.
you go to do the roll, it's like So
Yep.
that's it. All I've got is buttons and a 50-foot cable to hack up into things.
But God,
Tame.
this Dreamcast has so many good games.
It's one of my favorite systems.
So many great fighting games on that.
All right, Nick, you have the floor. What have you? Let me
go
procured.
Well, let's start off as I secured another Sony Trinitron 27-inch.
Is that the glorious thing sitting behind you?
Yeah, you want to see her in action? Watch this. I feel like it's gonna blow up when I turn it on, though. Start boom.
I hope it has that high pitched hum like we had back in college on mine. Just like,
Yeah. For the first 10 minutes, it was heating up.
Oh my god, though! Look at that. That's beautiful.
That's great. Does it make random cracks in the middle of the night?
Nope. Good. She's good.
We're old
Nice.
now, though, so we might not be able to hear that hum. But my kids, like, if I had that here, they'd go insane. You know, if we had a dog, it would be like freaking the hell out. The benefits of aging.
I mean, it's great. I played on it for a while. Actually, I don't know if you can really notice. I'm actually at the very last level of Hook right now. So I did an old pause and leave it there for a little bit.
That a guy.
So Sony Trintron. I then picked up some games because I had some credit at the good old Bull Moose. So I ended up picking up.
Whoa! You said another store. I'm shocked.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Actually, all these games except for one came from Bull Moose.
He's
No,
cheating.
actually, sorry. I lied. Three. Three.
Two-timer.
I picked up Mega Man 11.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
For Xbox One.
There. That's the ticket.
I don't know if it's what's the difference between the playing it on the Switch, probably besides the fact that I could have handheld. It's probably going to be interesting game. It's definitely, it's like you said, Matt, for that one. It's interesting. It's weird I had never really played the original Mega Mans. So having, Rush as one of your item secondaries, and using his jump. Also, just getting used to the mechanics again, and even then, getting used to the mechanics on a pretty much a Xbox controller.
Yep.
I also had to eat some crow again or say sorry at least, because I bashed the Wii so many times, and I have now actually a fairly extensive Wii collection.
It's such a good system.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like 14 games for the Wii now.
And you got a Wii display. Like you
I have
are
a Wii display. I have all big, fairly major titles too. So I have both the Zelda games. So that's what I picked up this week, or since we last talked. I have Zelda Skyward Sword and Zelda Twilight Princess for the Wii.
That's not a GameCube game, so you can't play it on the show. Quote John. Even though it's on the GameCube.
I picked up some DS games. I picked up Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy Tactics A2.
Yeah.
And I also then picked up Ghostbusters, the video game for DS, which is pretty fun. Actually, kind of has
on your quest.
Yes. So I think I made some quests this year. I think have every Sonic game for the Genesis.
Hold up.
And then to get every Ghostbusters game, I think.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was going to say, because you talked about Ghostbusters like twice now, and then
he's abandoned the quest.
No, I'm still for it. It's actually hard to find. So the one that I think is going to be hard to find in the wild is going to be Ghostbusters for the Sega Genesis.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was rare.
And it's a little on the pricier side. It ain't too bad. I think it's like $40. I think there. The most expensive one I think is going to be the one for the Game Boy. I think that one's got a good price on it too.
Yeah.
Because I'm only going up to I'm technically going for Ghostbusters. I'm technically only going up to the Genesis, but I'm a Ghostbusters fan, so I was like, I like this game. My favorite version of the Ghostbusters game the Ghostbusters the video game is for the Xbox 360. Such a great game, such a great cast, actually really good voice acting, all that good stuff. So
get at
it. Which unlike our game of the week.
Oh, you know what? We should just get into it. I think we're going to take a significant amount of time, so I'm rushing along. We should get into the game of the week before we hit like the 30-minute mark, which is not our norm.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a long game because I don't think any of us have finished our game of the week.
No. So let's jump into it. Our game of the week was Final Fantasy X.
Woo-hoo!
Insert sounds of John celebrating. Woo!
Toilet flush.
John, how dare you? This
Nah.
game is recognized as being one of the best Final Fantasy games.
I don't trust that crowd.
Well, John, what was your-
Pinky up and drinking his tea, bougie John?
I want John the Snob to start off. And John, what is your experience with the franchise? And then what is your experience with this title that we picked? The 10th in the series, in the mainline series. We'll phrase it
The
that
main
way.
line, the deviations have been a lot. Let's see. First, it was 3/6. That I played forever. We kind of started this because of that game. I played 2/4, right?
Yeah,
For the SNES.
I think we're gonna have to use the Japanese numbering to not confuse ourselves. I
Okay.
think we're gonna be forced to be.
After
That's
the funny synopsis I posted with all the
Yeah.
ones, a couple sentences. So 4, 6. I played Final Fantasy, was it Legends on the Game Boy
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
a hot minute, and then Tactics because Nick was obsessed, and on my phone, and I didn't like it because I played it on my phone. I've realized that this 10 and Tactics, the system just it irritates me. So I guess it's a deep down a pet peeve that I should work out.
you should just
At
say
some
that you
point.
hate turn-based RPGs, and then we'll
Okay, I
just
do.
we'll call it a
Yeah.
day.
Yep, that's it. Game. Cue the music.
You peaked.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I like 3. Or 6. Sorry. But I realized that it's probably because I played it as a kid. If I had played this as a kid, I probably would have liked it more. There's some Dreamcast games that I probably would go back and be like, I don't want to play this again. This is dumb. But I liked them as a kid. So yeah, I'm not keen on a lot of the aspects of this game. I like the franchise. I think that the medieval fantasy genre is cool. I in different gameplay aspects.
So I'm going to stop you there. You say you like the franchise, but I feel like I'll leave some spoilers, but I feel like as this show progresses, you will come to around to say, I don't like the franchise. That is my goal. You just don't know it yet.
I like the original trilogy, and then I hate the sequels and the prequels. There we go. In terms we can all relate to.
I like Star Wars, just only 3 of them. Yeah. Nick, how about you?
So, my only aspect of this franchise that I had growing up was I played the original for the NES, number 1.
Ooh.
And I liked it. I had a red mage, my black mage, and a fighter. And I think I also had a couple other thief amongst that as well. So I was actually very fond of the 8-bit version. And I always had, on my notebooks or anything, I'd always draw the black mage because it was one of my favorite characters growing up.
The coolest looking.
Yeah. And I think there was also a webcomic back in the day that used the Final Fantasy characters. And I'll have to find it, but it was just like the Black Mage was always like like the mischievous evil one, like and the cocky attitude. So that is my only thing besides hopping off the main line and going into Final Fantasy Tactics,
Woo!
which there's a reason why it's near the top of my list.
It is the top.
The top. I'm a fan of turn-based. I love it. I like it when you can soak hours into, in a sense, building these characters and making them, in a sense, whatever you want them to be. So I think I have so many hours in, and I'm least farther along than you, Matt, but because I put so much time into building up my characters and pretty much going through the leveling system or the job system in a sense. I mean, I'm a big fan of the job system. Anything that has like that job system where like, oh, you want there, I'm all for it. So Ogre Tactics is in my lineup.
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna segue on that because that's kind of, so here's why. So I've talked about that I played this number 3. I'm gonna call it 6 from here on out to be consistent. That was a big deal for me growing up. But why I picked this is, one, I've wanted John to pick 6 since we started the damn show. Like, I've been kind of like goading you into doing this and you didn't do it. So we talked about playing 7 with Dan. He's going to be a dad. Dan can't play with us because he's going to be a dad. Maybe he's next year or the year after. Or
unless he's homebound more and he's going to have time to play. Like, while the baby's just chilling. So
we gotta work around Father Dan and action.
Could we have a 5-some and bring Paul back too?
If I would be stoked for that. Make it happen.
Those two played that game a lot.
I think Paul deserves a second chance because we kind of fucked him hard on the first guest episode was like the worst.
So bad.
So another thing why I picked this game, we've talked about I wanted 6, and then 7 kind of fell through. We typically do at least one big RPG a year. So in 2020, we did Tactics. We also did Crystal, but we lost that one, so I can't count it. In 21, we did Mother 3, was our big RPG. In 22, we did KOTOR, which we phoned in and Dan saved us on. So thanks again, Dan. And then 23 is a banner fucking year because in addition to Final Fantasy X, we also have Persona 3 coming down. So the year of the Weeb is going fucking strong this year.
So strong.
So for the listener who's been living under the rock for God knows how long, what is Final Fantasy? Final Fantasy is a Japanese role-playing, generally, but not really anymore, turn-based combat game using sci-fi and fantasy themes.
Mostly sci-fi of recent, I'd say.
Of recent, yeah. The fantasy, the game released in '87, I think, and you've got 15 mainline games. The 16th one is going to be more fantasy.
I said they harken back to like the original roots.
Yeah,
it hasn't been fantasy since 9. Well, and didn't 7 kind of deviate too?
7 was the big deviation,
and then hark back because 9, yeah. I'm glad that they're kind of going back to because I'm more of the fantasy side versus the sci-fi, and it's just weird when they mix the sci-fi with, in the sense of magic, or in this case, it's just nifty.
6 was the perfect blend of that. So, all right. I have development info. Do you guys have any info on development? I figured John hates this, so he would do zero research. So I've gone over the top on research for John.
I mean,
I watched. Go ahead.
My stuff's mostly around the sphere grids.
All right, so I can get into this?
Yes.
So this game was originally released in December of 2001 in North America. It would have been out.
They put it out at the same time as the GameCube or something, like to spite them.
I don't think it was a dick measuring competition because they'd already kind of done that. That was Final Fantasy VII's kind of thing, where Sony giving a raging finger to Nintendo. It had been out in Japan since July. Europe, of course, doesn't really matter. They got it delayed as hell. I feel bad for the Europeans. And then there was an international release, which I believe the version that we played, the HD remaster, is based off from. Some improvements, changes on that. So let's go through some names on this. Obviously, this is developed by Square, produced by Square, now Square Enix. Big name company from our childhood. So the game was directed and produced by Yoshinori Kitase. Here's why why this name matters, John, so that you can't pull this like they came in, they did stupid shit to my series. He was the director of Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, 7, 8, and 10. He's been involved in the series since 5.
He had a good repertoire for sure. Like,
isn't
a lot.
Is it Chrono Trigger? Is it Chrono Trigger? Or is it Secret? What's that? Isn't there a Final Fantasy collection kit for the Switch where it has? Is it Secret of Mana or is it Chrono Trigger that's on it?
The PlayStation 1, the Final Fantasy Anthology on PlayStation's got Chrono Trigger on it.
So that makes sense if that being it because they're so close together in sense of.
So
themes.
Let's talk design. Here's another name for you. Tetsuya Nomura. I'm going to butcher some names here. He kind of took over design, I would say, after 6. I want to say he had involvement in 7. He's well known. He's a meme on the internet for his excessive use of zippers and belts. If you've looked at like the Kingdom Hearts where you have Donald Duck with about 27 zippers on him, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
He never had a zipper, finally got 27.
And that's probably why, if looking at this, I'm like, Jesus, doesn't Titus really look like the mainline character from the Kingdom Hearts games?
It's a fucking copy and paste, man.
It's pretty much that's all it was, the whole thing. And I think even Titus is actually in one of the Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, I think they all are.
Titus looks like an amalgam of every early 2000s like alt genre, just smushed into a ball.
Save that thought because we're gonna go through characters, and I want your thought. I want to get through development, then we're gonna get into characters. Last name again, John. You should be pleased with this. Nobuo Uematsu did the music.
Yeah, that was one of my talking points. Was I liked the music. It kept the pace, like, they had the typical scale at the beginning, but they pepped it up a little bit, and then there was a lot of everything was grounded. Nothing really was like, so the only reference I have really is 4 and 6, right? I mean, and 6 had the best music ever. You can't. 7's is probably fantastic, but this one felt like it played it a little bit safer. Everything was good. The battle theme was great, but it was just like everything kind of blended.
So it was a more subdued soundtrack deliberately.
Yeah.
1, they kind of had that laid back island theme of the game, which we'll get into. And 2, the dude was actually doing split duty. So he did the soundtrack for 9. And as I'm going to mention in a second, the way 9 and 10 both developed, he basically was doing double duty. So he had other people come in to help him because he's doing the soundtracks for basically 2 games that are being developed at the exact same time. So the balls on that dude to take on.
He's just going, early 2000s garage band MIDI keyboard.
So the development on this, and I'll try to keep this as short as I can, but this game is just like littered with details. It's just like, because it's such a well-renowned.
A couple good tidbits.
So when 8, so really this game came about as a result of Final Fantasy 8. Because the way that Square handled these games up until 8 was, you'd have the same kind of core team work on a game, and then when that game was done, they would start working on the next Final Fantasy. Like one done, we're going to move on to the next. So when 8 got done, there was kind of, I think they kind of took some breathing room. I don't think there was a whole lot of pressure to come up with a 9. So you had a team working on what would become 9, which was not Final Fantasy 9. They eventually came back and kind of rebranded it as 9. And then 10 wasn't supposed to be Final Fantasy 10. They were working on this game called 717.
17.
Yeah. Which the story of that one was about a pandemic. So all my picks apparently involve COVID has gotten to me. All my picks can be traced back to fucking COVID.
Bad.
But basically, the pandemic kills everyone when they're over the age of 17.
Yeah.
And so the game had this whole like dealing with like impending death. So what happened was that game got rolled into 10, and that whole concept of like the impending death got rolled into this game. So 9 got rolled into 9, and 10 got rolled into 10. But you had different teams now working on different games, which is different than the entire history of the series.
Yeah.
So let's see. They had a crew of about 100 people working on this thing. And this thing hit some snags. What's that?
I said, wasn't this one of the first games that really utilized motion capture too?
It was early on. I mean, I don't know how far back motion capture goes, but I know they definitely used it. So this game was announced. 9, 10, and 11 were all announced at the exact same time, and it was supposed to be like 10 was supposed to be like one of the launch titles for the PS2. It's supposed to have like online, a 3D camera. It had all these features that they were going to bake into it, but then like they realized like the PS2 wasn't as powerful as they thought. So like at the last second, they're scaling everything back. This game was delayed. I think it was the first Final Fantasy game that actually had a delay. Also, as we'll see later, they had to do a script rewrite.
I remember that because I remember what they kind of did to delay. They had like either little animated shorts, like 3D animation shorts, like just straight up computer, because they had a couple short movies, like 30-minute movies, and then wasn't there actually a legit Final Fantasy X movie?
You think it's Spirits Within?
Spirits Within.
Didn't it come around the same time though?
Yeah, the company got wicked cocky and tried to do a movie at the same time they all this shit, and then it like financially crushed them.
How bad did the movie flop? I remember it just got panned.
It like defined Uncanny Valley. It's hard on the eyes. You're just like something's off-putting about this.
I mean, look at the cutscenes in this game.
So before we get too far, and I'm ready to jump into story, but I want to talk about sales because I did some digging on sales on this.
Ooh, I'm curious.
So when Final Fantasy X first released in Japan, it sold over 1.4 million copies in 4 days, which set a record.
Yeah.
As of today, I guess Square. So game companies don't really track their sales all that well. They kind of suck with that, but as of like 2021, it's Square had said that the Final Fantasy X series has shipped 20.8 million units. So I did some quick math on that because they had a sequel, 10-2.
Yeah.
So the series had sold over 14 million as of October 2013, which is right before the remaster. So they're talking about this likely accounts for 6.8 million. So here's my quick math for you. The sequel, Final Fantasy X-2, was reported to have sold 5.5 million units as of December 2017. That game is basically a shitty version of Charlie's Angels and should be discarded by anyone. It is a terrible game. So I'm going to say that all the HD remaster sales are people who wanted to buy 10 and just got 10-2 as a bonus. So I'm going to say this game sold, based on my quick math, 15.3 million copies to date.
Yeah.
That's a big one, boys. That's a big one for the RPG
huge.
world.
Yeah.
I just remember it was like such a big, because they, like you said, they're having so many groundbreaking like features on this game, and so many groundbreaking, like how the art style is supposed to be compared to there. I mean, and then when it did well enough for the fact that they remastered this prior to 7, prior to any of the other Final Fantasies, they remastered this.
And was this
Onto
at a time when remasters were even a thing? Like, were HD remasters big back in 13?
Because this came back, because they remastered it for the PS3 and the Vita. And then they even just did it for the Switch, the 1 and the PS4.
And I think Steam got a copy too. So,
And
this game's everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's for that just to happen just for alone shows that how well it made the money it first started off with.
What would you... So 15.3 million copies of this game before the remaster, or that's including?
That's including. Because I'm assuming in that number that no one who bought the remaster actually wanted 10-2. So that's a wild assumption, but I'm comfortable making it. Let's talk about story. I want to go through story and then we get into gameplay. And I want to do story differently than we did. I have a habit of these things of like monopolizing story, and then Nick just wants to like jump out of a goddamn window.
So he's so bored.
Can't capture his attention for that long.
My thinking was I can give a brief synopsis leading up to things, and then I want to talk characters. I figured that may interest Nick a little bit more, and you may actually be able to help.
Keep my ADHD at bay.
I've pulled up the wiki for the TV show Lost, and it's the same fucking thing. It makes no sense. I am as disappointed. I didn't finish the game, obviously. I think I made it through Blitzball, and I was like, this is fucking stupid.
You didn't even make it into the battle?
I made it to battles. I don't know what battle you're talking about.
How far did you make it in this?
Did you make
Blitzball.
What?
Did you make it? Did you make it out of Zanarkand?
No, he didn't get to Zanarkand. Well, no,
How far did you make it?
No, he got to
Where did you go?
Blitzball. He got Waka's Blitzball.
Yeah,
he makes it to Waka.
He makes
oh my god, I hated it. I hated this game. I think I played like
Oron. He didn't get Oron.
Like 5 hours. No, I didn't get Oron. I read ahead.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is you have to do better on Persona than this. You have to actually try.
I tried. It was too painful.
Oh my god, what a failure. John gets the fucking failure award. I'm gonna have a drink for that.
Good job.
All right.
Yep.
So, John, the story. Can you regale us on what you saw? Because literally my plan was to like discuss up to where you get into getting characters, and then we could use the characters to kind of get into the story.
Oh, I've done my research, man. I just couldn't play.
John, what is the lead up? The only part that you've paid attention to. That's the most important part.
I mean, this
Jesus Christ, Nick. Oh my god.
There's no important part. What the fuck is this? It makes no sense.
John.
It's all a dream.
You're the guy that wants to do a fucking book club and you can't pay attention to a simple video game story.
No, because I hate it. I'd rather read a book than listen to these fucking Bender throw a fucking beach ball to a guy with cargo shorts.
Oh my god, you hate 2001 so much.
I was not a happy camper in that year.
Wow.
John was severely wronged in 2001.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck, John?
There's some trauma buried in my brain that it's like, oh wait, I don't want to do this. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like,
John,
I like the intro. It was cool. Do you like the fact that it shows like the director, producer? It's very movie-esque. I like that. Now I hate everything else about it. Yeah, good graphics.
We should have known, Nick, when John was not talking in our game chat for like a month straight. He was not playing it at all. We're gonna have to pin him down on the other ones. Okay. So the story. They kind of Tarantino it at the start because you open up you have the whole party and like Titus. All right, so we're gonna have to. How do you guys pronounce the main character's name?
I say Titus, but it's Titus.
It's Titus.
That also pissed me off. I started listening. I was like, "This is fucking why? Why?"
I mean, to John, to your credit, that is kind of pretentious.
Titus, yeah.
That's like saying, "Hey, I'm going to spell Catherine like with a Y and E at the end."
Catherine with an X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there.
Wow,
we agree on something. Stop the press.
Can we call him Titus and just we know the real fuck the real pronunciation? He actually his name never gets said in the whole game because he is the one character you can change the name on. So if you want to change the name to John, they can't have everyone's talking. So he's the only character.
Did you change it to John?
No, I didn't. I should have. I have a history of that.
I'm always the princess or whatever. I wanted to be Lulu with the big titties.
Fucking, we'll hold that thought. Hold that thought.
All right. Fuck Lulu. I want Diana.
What?
The other summoner that's in this.
Oh, Donna.
Donna. Yeah, Donna. That's what it is.
Donna with a thong. All right. So Titus is the main character. The story sets off. He's in his hometown city of Zanarkand. It's this like high tech city. As we've talked about, he's a blitzball player, which is their beloved water polo based sport, Quidditch like sport.
He's the Tom Brady of blitzball.
Brady.
He's a big deal. While he's playing his game, the city gets attacked.
So remember, I think it's in the prequels in Star Wars when they go to watch the opera and it's just like blobs of water. And that's all I could think of when they're playing in a blob of water. I was like, where's Palpatine watching? Is this his fault? Like,
blitzball is a path to many unnatural things.
They're playing in a fucking orb of water.
How do they not drown? Can we talk about that? Like, you're in this magic. They have like the abyss. Is it kind of like they inhale the oxygen out of the water like those super students?
Kevin Costner Waterworld.
They got gills and webbed feet.
Or the fact that they swim so fucking fast with clothing on and full on shoes. They don't have like fins or anything yet. It looks
early
like he's swimming
2000s, baby.
He's swimming like a fucking dolphin.
He's swung for the fences and didn't have their own feet to catch up with them.
You ever thrown something underwater? It's kind of like you huck up and it's just like drops. Like, there's no way that ball
would go 2 feet.
That or it's full of air and it just like a soccer ball underwater. It just shoots to the top.
Yeah, that's fun too.
So as Nick is going to get into, and I'm setting him up to hold this thought, but I'm going to set Nick up. Titus has some daddy issues. He's got a father who's disappeared 10 years earlier, Jecht, who's also a famous blitzballer. During the tournament, this creature attacks, and Oren, his kind of keeper, his father's friend, shows up. Samurai dude. Oh God.
I couldn't help but think.
We're not gonna make it.
For whatever reason, you know how like they did that meme of like celebrities as Pokemon through the evolution, like somebody's Squirtle and then the Blastoise. I was like, if Dan was Charmander, this guy would be Charizard. Because he's always like, man, he doesn't say much and he's kind of grumpy.
Stop crying. Why are you always crying? Did you cry?
I had an edible before I started this game, and I was like, why is fucking Samurai Dan yelling at me?
He's not here to defend himself.
He'd agree. He'd laugh.
Well, remember when Dan broke his collarbone? He had to wear the sling? It's just like Oren. Oren's got the sling thing. Dan's Oren.
Dan, I'm sorry.
He doesn't listen to this. Matt does, though.
his buddies-
Matt H.
Oh, his buddies do. They're gonna think of Dan as Orin.
Yeah.
So Sin, it's just fucking H on. So Orin helps you escape Zanarkand. You get attacked by what is called Sin, which we'll talk about later. I don't know if you actually see the creature, but it looks like you get sucked into a butthole. Like when that the time warp thing.
Pictures like giant sea cucumbers just going ham. Because just like fucking massive, like thick tentacles everywhere.
So you end up 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years away, allegedly. You end up meeting Riku on a sea vessel scavenging parts, and then Sin attacks again. You kind of get more of an image of what Sin is. It's not really a butthole. It's more like a whale. And then you end up in Besaid, where you meet Waka. And then this whole thing with Yuna comes about, which we'll talk about. And then you become a guardian, you have your party, and you're ready to move on. Okay, so that is the synopsis up to that point. Characters.
Well done.
Titus. Now is your chance, Nick, because I want to go character by character. I figure that's the best way to go through this story for John.
Well, so it also the story the story, I think to add to the story, it's also told from as Titus is as the narrator of the whole story too.
Yep.
So, which gets weird near the end as well because, well, we'll talk about that later. Titus is a crybaby, daddy left me issues kind of character where all he does is pretty much piss and moan, and he tries to his dad was a famous blitzball player, so he became a famous blitzball player to become better than his dad. And then he finds out that his dad was a guardian, so he becomes a guardian. So it's pretty much him in a sense. He's like, I don't want to follow my father's footsteps, but I'm following in my father's footsteps. So I'm going to do all this stuff, and ultimately, that's pretty much him as a character. But the thing of him as a character is, I always think of a main character being fairly strong. Like, he's usually your go-to. You're using him to do your main attacks. He has the best strength. In this case, he's not. I'd say he is one of the weakest of the characters
early on, and his big thing is support, because he has some really good support things. You get cheer, which is great. You can up your attack. He also becomes, in a sense, a knight with time mage abilities, where you use haste and stuff of that nature, which haste is pretty good, solid early on. But other than that, he's nothing too special. This game also kind of, for the character, you're already going to use certain weapons no matter what. You don't get to really choose your weapons. It's not based like other games where, okay, I'm a warrior, so I can use axes, I can use swords, I can use halberds, I can use multiple. You legit have only one type of weapon, but you have different versions of that weapon, and you can usually you actually want to keep all different versions of that weapon to switch in and out depending on your enemies. They kind of progressed, because like you can kind of see this happening in the other games. Like mages can use this, but there's some overlap. And then like 6, there's very like character specific weapons. 7, it gets even more. I think if you like, in hindsight being 2020, we should have seen how they handle weapons. Like that's the simplification of, I'm not going to every town buying a new weapon every time. I'm going to focus on maybe having this weapon do this thing. Slots kind of gets that.
That's what was hard for me though with this going forward is I was so used to like, okay, let me get to the next town to find a really awesome weapon and upgrade in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And this one, you don't really upgrade realistically, you ultimately get a character that will actually help you upgrade your weapons or current weapons you have, depending on what they are. But yeah, Titus character, he's just whiny through the whole thing. At least from the start, he's whiny. And as far as development, he does develop a little bit more, and you kind of see him do grow, which is I thought was really good on this storytelling. You actually do see some growth into the characters. You see growth into, I think other characters we'll probably talk about is Kamari, which is a different
Kamari Puny, Ronzo.
Is a Ronzo, which was I think a new race that was actually introduced into the series, at least to my
Griffin cat person.
Yeah.
One more thing on Titus, though, to piggyback on what you said, he does grow significantly, and you kind of allude to that in that when he's the narrator, he actually doesn't talk annoying and irritating, whereas when he's in the game, he starts off, he's wicked annoying. So you kind of get that sense that, I mean, he's a 17-year-old. I don't know if you ever talked to a 17-year-old recently. You don't want to.
No.
You don't. So, I mean, he's accurately portraying what he is, which is just an annoying ass that's like trying to chase after chicks. In this case, Yuna.
Dude, he's trying to get all the chicks, not just Yuna, I felt.
He could have had any one of them.
Right.
You know, but he picks Yuna. What'd you think of Yuna?
She was a hard character for me actually to get used to as far as what her role was, because she's a summoner, which is usually one of your more powerful characters you have, but she's also in a sense, a white mage, so she's your healer.
Yep.
So it was trying to balance her being a combatant and also your, healer, which is weird because in this game you have three people that you call to order. Those are usually your first three that go into battle. Then, when you can always call the other members of your team forward if you're like, you know what, this is not be a good character for this fight, which you'll switch through and out. So it is weird because I actually didn't use Yuna a lot because her summoning, until she got all her summons, there's not much use for her besides being a healer. So I was using Lulu because she had a black magic there. Also, the summons was weird too because when you use her summons, it moved you just have that creature, just a summons. You wouldn't have any of your other characters. So you're straight up attacking with that summon creature. And I was getting slaughtered sometimes. I would use like their big attack to drain the bit bosses off quickly. And that's all I was doing.
Summons were weird in this. Like in the old games, you would just like push a button, the summon comes in and goes and attacks, and then you kind of move on. And this, like,
he becomes a character. It's actually a character.
The summons are a character in this game. Like they have a purpose, as we'll get into with the story. Like the summons actually matter into what you're doing.
They're called Aeons, right?
Yeah. Aeons.
So
with Yuna,
and she's very soft. She's also very, very soft-spoken as a character. So she doesn't really have a voice until I think later on.
I thought she was dumb. I was texting you, Nick, because you paid attention. John, you ignored the chat for a month. But I was like, I think she's dumb because the way she talks, it's just like very, like, there's a lot of pauses and she doesn't say a whole lot. And she makes really stupid decisions throughout the game, as we'll get into.
Look how many she's only summoner with, 6 guardians?
She has a ton of guards. So the story-wise, like the whole point of this is you have a summoner who is very important from a religious aspect in Spira, which is the land you're in. A summoner is needed to go and fight sin. So the Guardians are there in order to make sure the summoner can successfully get to Sin. But she's got like 6 people protecting her, and she still makes stupid decisions. Wait, who's your favorite character? Just across the board.
I mean, Waka's hilarious. Just comedy.
Yeah, I think Waka was mine too.
Yeah.
See, I didn't care for Waka.
Interesting.
I was a big Orin fan because he was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
Though honestly, probably my most used character, even to now, is Lulu.
Yeah.
Magic.
And
She
that's because
kinda-
I always usually tend to use your black mages or your heavy magic user, your offensive magic users quite a bit.
You couldn't spam battles in this one like the old Final Fantasies if you're just doing fight, like regular attack. You just bam, 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 done. These were like it took a while.
They fixed that because that was you just hit fight and you would kill. And then in this game, even through 7 and 8, I mean 8 is broken. 8's its own bird, but in 7 you could just like fight and kill. And I think 9, this game kind of stopped that in that you could get wrecked by pretty low level shit because the way the game was set up, if you're not using the right type to fight the right thing, you're done.
It was kind of rock paper scissors. In a sense.
Yeah.
So you usually had Waka for your long range, but also anyone that was flying because he had anything. So you had to use him.
I fucking love that. He's just like, and it's this little ball, and it's just like,
And all it is a blitz ball.
yeah.
So like,
You're using the toy of the world as a weapon.
Orin and Titus have swords, and he has a beach ball. That's the level. But he's so powerful that's it. That his power rating, he's at 9,000. He's able to use that beach ball more effectively than a sword.
As soon as he showed up and I heard that voice, I'm like, I know who that is.
Yeah, it's DiMaggio.
DiMaggio, Bender, all day. I couldn't unhear it. And I was like, this is just going to be funny. And they're like, he did an accent, and nobody else had an accent.
Well, he did a
I
Jamaican
loved it.
fucking accent.
I loved it.
He's playing
Well,
an island.
they're on islands.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother.
I love his kind of interactions with
Jamaican.
Titus.
Sorry, Hawaiian / Polynesian. Like
He's one of the rhinos from Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah. I like his interaction with Titus because he lost his brother, so he kind of has that like Chapu, I think was his brother's name.
Yep.
He's got that kind of brother, like he like puts him in headlocks and tells him he's stupid and stuff like that. They have that kind of brotherly relationship.
Right.
I loved Waka. I got on a Reddit thread and someone kept calling him a religious extremist. And I was like, oh my fucking God, get off Reddit.
But I seen that thing about on Reddit where he's one of the strongest characters. He becomes one of the strongest characters.
Yeah, he's pretty. Oh, like I used his throw the ball and put darkness on people. Speaking of the darkness, Nick, Lulu, what are your thoughts on Lulu?
It's like a emo girl that one has probably daddy issues herself that carries around a stuffed animal.
Mog.
A Moogle, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's either Moogle or I had her holding a little cactus dude too.
Oh, yeah.
So you can change that up. That doesn't have a true dress, but has a belt dress, so you can see through it. So you're just seeing her through you're seeing her thong.
So edgy.
And she's like, oh. And then for whatever reason, she starts off where she doesn't like trust Titus at all. And then all of a sudden she's like, okay, you're part of the group now. Just leave it be. You see more of a caring side come to her other than being distant. It's just, I like her because she's also a black mage as well. So she has your stronger magic attacks to start off with. She has all your magic attacks to start off with, which is pretty great.
She was pretty clutch in the beginning.
Yeah, you needed her. You
need her because like it's also one of those things that comes out rock paper scissors. Like I said earlier, is okay. You have a elemental. Okay, I'll use the opposite of that elemental. Though some of them did confuse me because I'm like, oh, it's this. I should probably use lightning. Then find out it's like, oh, that wasn't lightning. It should have been fire or whatever be the case.
You got locked into Pokemon thinking, and I did the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to use, ice on this. And it's like, damn it.
So there was some trial and error, like figuring out, okay, this. I got rid of that trial and error with one of the characters because I learned scan. So if there's a creature I didn't see before, I'd scan it and then just remember, like, in the back of my head that, okay, this is what this creature's weak into. We'll do this.
Do you remember looking up those stats? Somebody would just have it on a webpage back in like 2001. Week 2, and you'd be like, yeah, okay, and you print it out.
You can kind of do that with this game. We'll get into Sphere Grid for a bit. We've got Kamari and Riku to get through on the story. And Kamari, I did not use him that much. I found his story largely uninteresting.
Yeah, I mean, besides, he's just I felt like he's just like a dog of, or a pet for Yuna.
The Pokemon.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's all it is. He didn't talk much. He was actually he had some strong attacks before you get Oron.
Yeah.
So I just do cheer, and he was more.
He was a tank.
Yeah, but other than that, he becomes kind of useless, I think.
He's the kind of a jack of all trades, because we'll get into Sphere Grid later, but he's in the middle, so he's good at everything, but a master of none.
You kind of need to think of, you have to kind of think of where you want him to go quickly, so you don't become that master, because it becomes kind of like you use him as more or less like a backup. So if you're black maging doing the black mage thing, or your healer's not doing the healer thing, or Orange not having a heavy text, that's when you like kick him in and be like, okay, pick up the slack.
And then last, you have Riku, the Albed girl, who Waka does not like initially because she is Albed and therefore using the Machina.
Machina.
So we didn't talk about that.
Also, Riku is voiced by Tara Strong. Not Tara Strong. Is it Tara Strong? I thought I just saw it.
What else has that person done?
Yeah, I don't know.
But Tara Strong and a whole shitload of stuff you'll hear, and it's Tara Strong. So Tara Strong is the voice of probably what you guys would remember is from the Batman animated series, Joker's girlfriend, Harley Quinn.
Oh, okay.
She's done everything. I mean, she's also one of the voice of the Powerpuff Girls. She's done what else? Raven from Teen Titans. Pretty much any of those shows. Huge voice actress. Like she's probably if you're putting them like ace celebs, like Brad Pitt is at his level in the actor world, she's at that level in the voice acting world.
Wow.
Like if there's someone they need a female voice for, that's more likely they're calling her.
Yeah. I as a character, she was kind of weird. She kind of annoyed me, to be honest with you. Every time I don't know if you got to the lightning area where she's like freaking out with the lightning because she got zapped by her brother and stuff like that. Like she just had annoying scenes.
Which is weird because I usually like the thief character, and that's her usually what she is. She's kind of a thief / machinist for this. So I'm like, oh, I usually kind of like them because they could, you have usually certain abilities like steal the money or steal the weapons, and you can kind of, or steal like their armor. Like with Final Fantasy Tactics, I actually love the thief character because you could literally weaken the strongest character by stealing all their items, and at their base you could kill them. So I was like, oh, I was really looking forward to using this, and I'm like, she's odd to use, but she's also kind of like a support. So when you get Riku, she actually lets you upgrade certain weapons. So if you get parts and mix them with other items, she'll upgrade that item and add like a special feature to it if it has an available slot. So you can have something that says, oh, I have +5 strength, 5% strength. Then I will have it so it has, a fire ability. So it can do fire damage.
One of the things I liked about this game was that you had like your cast all up front. So a lot of the other games, like you kind of get your cast as time goes on. Here, like you within like the first like 5 hours or so, you have your cast. So like the whole story can progress with you basically knowing everyone you've got. Like Riku is the last one that gets in your party, but really you get her fairly early on. Yeah, because I think the whole purpose of the game is to tell. This game is a very like story driven game where some of the other ones give you a little bit more freedom.
Very corridor.
Very hallway simulator. Did you guys hear about the Sixth Sense rewrite?
No.
So what happened was, spoiler alert to anyone listening. So again, the story is, you have your party. You're going to try to get Yuna the Summoner off to Sin to fight this whale-like demon creature that's a summon.
Christian guilt complex.
Oh my god, yeah, they definitely just like overload. So there's a religion. They're Yevonites. They believe in Yu Yevon, who I believe is the one who slayed Sin or something. I can't remember how Yu Yevon plays into it, but they're trying to get the summoner off because the summoner is the one that is there to basically sacrifice themselves. Because basically Sin, I think, comes around every 10 years.
Yeah.
And then it requires a summoner to go and defeat Sin, to sacrifice themselves, which brings about this period of calm where Sin isn't going around destroying the world.
Yeah.
And it has this like very anti-technology bent, where basically like if you're using machines, that is something that Sin is going to seek out. Sin is a punishment.
But there's some progressives in the game too.
Oh God, Nick, don't start that.
There's
no dick jokes yet. He has to go there.
Yeah, he's got to jump on that line.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got what's his name there? The Meister there. Why can't I think of his name right off?
Meister Seymour. Maester Seymour.
Maester Seymour.
The dumbest character design I think I've ever seen.
So
he looks like John with his low-cut V-neck. He looks very comfy.
Automatically, when I first saw him, I'm like, oh, that guy's the main villain.
So there's like a portion of this game like Yuna disappears. She's off getting married to Seymour or Maester Seymour. And the reason that she goes through with it is like she's supposed to, heal Spira, ease its sorrow.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you could tell straight on, like this dude's a bad dude, and she's stupid. She just like goes forward with this whole marriage for no apparent reason. She has multiple chances. Like after they kill him, they have the opportunity to send him, or I think Orin at one point is like, why didn't you send him? But doesn't. Like she just makes terrible decisions this whole game.
But
his voice didn't match. Like you would expect, like he would have like a real like, I'm Mr. Seymour, and he's like, I'm Mr. Seymour. Guys, no, stop it.
You make him sound like Zap Brannigan's little sidekick in Futurama.
You have to marry me, Yuna. I have really cool purple hair.
Well, he's also like he's part human and part tree person.
Guado, yeah. The Guado are Yevonites.
What? Guado.
That's what they call the Guado. John, you
It
should have
just
played this game.
I've read and I watched and I did some research the past week because I was like, fuck, I'm way behind. But,
did you get to the parts of the story about like them being dead?
I've read about that. That's fucked up. As I'm reading through everything, I'm like, okay, this is making less and less sense and less. Okay, all right. The machine battle, and turns out the rebels are the good guys all along. Oh wait, his dad is the whale dick. Like, nope. Okay, what? And it's just this weird like here. You go to the beyond, but you're not there. But I have to release you.
I don't know how you can do
it.
No one dies.
Yeah, there's no one is actually dead. It's just, I mean, are we going pretty much for ultimately the end?
Yeah, let's get to that.
Biggie okay, Smalls.
So ultimately, I mean, you find out that Jet, who is ultimately, I mean, through there, actually, not even early on, you actually find this out that Jet is Sin. Tells you. Yeah, Jet is Sin, and then Titus is like, oh yeah. I kind of felt it. I felt that was my dad. So ultimately, pretty much, you have to go kill your dad.
He's up because
dead. And then, but also, it's kind of foreshadows this like, wait, how does his dad become Sin? And ultimately, what you're finding out is that Titus, Jet, I think Oron, and even Kamari are aeons. They're ultimately they're all
They're not aeons.
Yeah, they
aeons.
Are.
Aeons are summons.
They're kind of summons.
Titus is a dream.
Yeah.
And then Oren is a guy who died but wasn't sent.
Yeah, he's an unsent.
He's an unsent. So he's kind of like he's a walking soul. And then
his dad was a dream too. Like the whole Zanarkand was a dream.
Oh, like that's right. So they would have to all be dreams. So Jekt would have to be. Now, did Jekt ever exist, or is that just a dream of Titus, who is a dream?
Well, the faithful brought Titus to, and like brought it to. So it's,
but Yuna said he was a guardian for her. So
he was a guardian. That was true. So wait,
it doesn't make it's like Lost. That's why I did that.
No, but it makes sense because like they bring. Zanarkand gets destroyed 1,000 years ago in that battle with, was it Belleville or Believe or something like that? They are super powerful. Zanarkand, not very powerful. So Zanarkand's going down, and Yevon is like a summoner, and he basically says, everyone in the city, you need to like die, and we'll take your spirits, and we'll create a dream version of Zanarkand, which is like a utopia. We'll and then like we'll bring about from your memories using summoners. Okay, it doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't know, but Sin has to be killed by a summoner, right? Because the Aeons keep bringing about new Sin, which repairs itself and keeps Yevon alive, right?
I'm trying to refine my notes here. No.
Okay, so it doesn't make any sense. I concede that. It is fucking far-fetched.
It's very convoluted. I know that.
John, you win. All right? You win.
It makes no sense, man.
Because like everyone's praying to Yevon this whole game as like the savior, right? You know, sin is our punishment, but really Yevon's just a dick and is just destroying everyone because he doesn't want them to find out Dream Zanarkand, which is a created false version of Zanarkand brought into existence through summoners on Mount something.
Okay, and you don't find that really out until like majority way through the game too, because ultimately at the beginning you're like, he's 1,000. Zanarkand's been dead or been gone for 1,000 years.
It's a cool unknown concept.
Like, he time traveled.
How are they going to pull this together? And then it just they don't. The parts are greater than the sum here, fellas.
All right, I'll concede. It's not as dumb as 7. I hot take. I find 7's story incredibly dumb. Like,
but doesn't also isn't where X2 now doesn't she end up like because she falls ultimately in love with Titus. Yuna does.
Yeah.
And
They
she
try to
actually
they try to Charlie's Angel and find him.
Yeah. And she actually summons him in a sense or she asks for him to come back.
But so is he from 1,000 years ago, or is he just a manifestation of something that believes he's 1,000 years ago? I didn't get that because they talk about how he's been transported 1,000 years, but if he's from Dream Zanarkand, he's not. He's from the current. He just thinks he's from back then because he imagined it. Because he's the living memory of Zanarkand. I don't know. Let's get into gameplay. So for the listener, we are not good on story on podcast. That was our best take at trying to uncover this story. I think we did as expected on that.
Complete shit. Yes.
Gameplay. Nick, the one area we can handle.
I was actually, it took me a little bit to get used to it because I was playing the remastered version on the Vita. So that's the version I played. And so it just took me, like, I think what I struggled was actually targeting or switching between some characters. Because
picking was hard.
Yeah, picking was like, that was where my struggle was mostly. Other than that, it got kind of repetitive sometimes because you would be going, like I said, you're going down a corridor. So it wasn't like you weren't really venturing and finding stuff. Also, I found that you found some stuff fairly early on in the game that I think would be usually later on in the game as you progress because you had to match that. Like, I think I was finding like mega potions, X potions, like your heavy duty potions before, like, I'm like, wait, I don't have the HP that even requires this.
Yeah.
And I was finding those before I was even finding like just a straight up regular potion. So I was like, oh, I have all these potions. So I felt bad because I never had bought a potion, but I was like, I don't like using a mega potion just to heal like
100 points,
800 HP or something like that. Like, it feels, here, this heals 2,000. I'm like, I only got 800 max out for this character right now, but let me use it because it's the only one I had. So, but other than that, it flowed. It was very, like you said, Matt, earlier, it was very story based. So I feel like you're just trying to continue the story. Some there. I also varied from you guys, I think. I picked the expert grid.
Yeah,
I got bold on that, and I think a little fucked on it too because I was like, oh, I was trying to like build out these characters. I'm like, where do I go? Because nothing's realistically labeled in the sphere grid.
So let's talk about that. So sphere grid is a new. So Final Fantasy X did a lot of new shit for the series.
They did,
and so like cutscenes, voice acted cutscenes, very new.
Gouge my eyes out.
Its battle system was new, and we'll come back to cutscenes because I know you hate that. But the leveling mechanic is somewhat different in a lot of the games, but this one was very new in the sense that in the other ones you just like get AP or you get, I'm going to ramp up strength, and you beat bad guys and things happen. In this game, you have a little more control of how you level, and that is the sphere grid that Nick is talking about.
And you don't truly level as well in the same sense.
Right.
So, and that's something that was kind of hard for me to get used to. So, like, when you leveled up, you automatically, in a sense, got your strength or you got your there. You didn't really have to put points into that. I'm also used to the job system from Final Fantasy Tactics. So you got your AP, like you said, and you put those points towards building up that job, be it getting different, pretty much move sets or whatever be the case. This one, depending, there's sphere grids where you would use spheres that you collected through battle, and they could be anything from mana, speed, and I think was the other one strength. And
yeah, there's a bunch because there's like add black magic, teleport. There's a ton.
And then there's also what you had was called also what was it called? Act sphere or something like that, I think.
Ability
sphere. Yeah, the ability sphere. So some of those ability spheres were a little far and few between. So at one point, I think I had over 100 mana, like between like mana sphere. Like I just had an obscene amount of like mana, strength, and speed spheres. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these? Am I gonna end the game when just have all these extras? Then I found out you can actually upgrade your Aeons as well with different move sets by just pretty much spending it. So I just did that. I was upgrading my Aeons, but yeah, and there's just kind of hard. I mean, the sphere grid was, at least on my side, was like, oh, you need a level 1 unlock to unlock this. You need a level 2 unlock.
Yeah,
unlock.
I remember that.
I put like a damper on some of my characters because I'm like, where am I going to find these? Where do I find these? I'm seeing everything else besides, this. So
it kind of gave you that illusion of choice. Like when you first get onto that sphere grid, you're like, holy shit, this is like daunting. Because all I could think of was like the skill tree in Diablo.
Yeah.
But
at least the skill tree in Diablo, like you knew where you could go. And you also, it was kind of labeled a little bit out more. This sphere grid is not labeled at all. It's not a clear map. It's just like, hey, go here, go here, go here. So you actually have to kind of look at the map, search the map, and it's like, okay, here's ability here, here's ability here. And you kind of have to just pick that path.
Experts gotta kind of be a bitch because like you all start kind of close in the center. So like I use the standard sphere. So like I knew here's where Titus started off. So I know this is kind of a fighter area. Here's where Orin is. This is kind of more of a samurai. Riku's over here and she's a thief. Lulu's over here. So you kind of knew if you moved more to where they were, you would kind of get that. So you kind of build your character like Kamari's in the middle. So I would, know to steer him down here if I wanted to be more black mage. You were kind of fucked in that because you're all in the middle. So you're kind of like at your best guess on what direction you got to go.
Yeah. I mean, the magic users were pretty easy because it's so close. You kind of started near those magics a little bit. So it's just like easy to fill those sphere grids pretty quickly. I had no problem getting Lulu and Yuna onto their grids and getting them pretty much well completed. Orin is a total bitch of finishing because, like you said, you came with level 1, level 2 blocks. I'm like, I just want to give them these abilities. I just need to get these, and then you have to use. You got AP, so AP was used to move to different spheres.
Yeah, you can move forward 1 or back 4, which I didn't get until later on the back part.
So I was like, oh, this is a pain in the ass. So I was just like, okay, let's do this. So like there was this, and that's what took me so long. So I was constantly, I was just digging in, farming. I was just going battle, just get all these points and get all these spheres, and just trying to fill up and make sure my characters were powerful enough to, in a sense, to take out any enemy we went to.
In hindsight, we probably should have seen the sphere grid coming. In the sense that, like, when you look at the progression of Final Fantasy, so like you're starting like the original Final Fantasy, you had like set types, fighter, thief, black mage, whatnot. You move into like Final Fantasy 3 and there's like customizable jobs. 5 had that. Tactics had it. And they kind of brought back the other ones. 6 kind of took that away in that you kind of had pre-built jobs, like Edgar's going to be your dragoon, Sabin's going to be kind of your monk character. They all kind of had built-in predefined things, but you could move things forward using the Esper system. 7 kind of built on that and kind of, yes, it's predefined, but we're going to socket things using materia. Like we're going to hook things into weapons. This, it kind of flowed in that you got predefined sets, but you're socketing things in this giant grid to kind of customize it.
What do you think has done the best job of melding everything like that in this series? I know that the early ones don't count because they're pretty
mainline, or can we use outside mainline?
I know what you're gonna say. Mainline.
Well, I got nothing then.
I think if this was labeled, it would be a lot more easier, a lot more clear.
Like if they were labeled as spheres, like okay, this sphere is monk, this sphere is knight, this sphere is black mage, this sphere is time mage, this sphere is white mage. If they were to label those spheres, like just some writing around it, okay, I know I want to go this direction. Okay, I want to go this, because you had like I saw some abilities that were like, oh, that's a red mage ability right there. Like, or that's an archer ability. Like Waka was like you said, Waka was like red mage archer abilities. I think. Like
what do I have him? He's kind of. I had him as like a ranger or an archer.
Yeah,
because you forget he has aim. I had Riku as a thief and an alchemist, Yuna as a summoner and a white mage, Lulu is obvious, Kamari's kind of a black mage dragoon. I didn't know what with Waka. Titus kind of is time magey with a warrior. John, we talk an awful lot about turn-based RPGs, but really this is the first, I would consider first turn-based RPG since Final Fantasy 3. And I don't mean 6, I mean 3.
Yeah.
Because they ditched active time battle on this. So, Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 were traditionally turn-based battles. So this is kind of like the first original battle system that you would get in the Final Fantasy game. Basically, your people, each turn, you are choosing your characters to pick an action, something like fight or magic, whatever. And then once the everyone has chosen the action, they're going to perform them in some kind of random order based on some kind of agility or speed stats. And your turn ends when everyone is attacked. So basically, you're picking all the attacks, and then based on those stats is how they attack. Active time battle is the next system that they came up with that came out in Final Fantasy IV. So it's kind of similar to the turn-based battle, but basically, like you said, it runs off a series of gauges, and those gauges fill up after you've performed an action based on your speed stat. So because of this, not all not all your team always gets an equal number of actions.
Yeah.
So like if you got a fast character, that person's going to attack quite a bit. Whereas if you have a slow character, they may not get as many attacks. So you may have a slow character that does a lot of magic, high damage, but not as many attacks. Active time is just like the name suggests, like the battle keeps. So if you walk away with active time going, the enemies are going to keep going even though you're sitting there. Active time. Okay, so conditional time battle. So what they introduced in Final Fantasy X is conditional time battle, or what they call count time battle in Japan. And basically, it's a turn-based battle, very similar to what you'd have in like Final Fantasy Tactics. Basically, your characters are displayed like on the right-hand side and has like an act list. So you can always see the order of who's going to attack at what timing. And then you can see basically what your actions are going to be doing. So if you're cast haste on somebody, you can see that being like repopulated on the side. So maybe casting haste will let me move, Lulu up a couple turns. So you can kind of plan out. It's more strategic than the other systems.
Yeah.
So that was definitely new. Yeah, so kind of like active time battle, this system doesn't guarantee that your the people that you're selecting have an equal number of turns. So again, like if you're picking haste on someone, like I used haste on Lulu quite a bit, she may have 2 or 3 times as many turns as somebody who's slower, like an Orin, on my, when I was playing. What are your thoughts on that? Did you miss it?
Yeah, I did. I like the gauge. Yeah, that was a fun part of it that added a little bit. I just think that you like getting your characters all off the bat. I like starting out small. Like I like the progression more.
Yeah.
And then just the sphere grid. I think there was too many, and probably if I had done my homework a little more, if I had read about it, it would have clicked. But that's probably the reason I didn't get far in Skyrim, is because it's kind of similar. It's like there's so many choices, and it's like I kind of want a linear path. I don't want to have to do a whole lot of digging or complex thinking.
Yeah, the grid got you there. I mean, it's linear, but I think when you first stare at it, it's rough. So you didn't like conditional time. Nick, did you like that, where it was similar to tactics in a way?
I like it because I like the whole chess play through. Like you finish your turn, you actually have your time to do your turn. Also, I think for me, I'd have this game on and just walk away sometimes. Like I'd be like, or like kids start yelling, okay, I can walk away, and I'm not gonna be penalized for it.
Yeah,
active time,
I remember
you get leveled.
Yeah, I played a good chunk of this during that cold snap, and I must have got up like 8 times in the night to keep the log burning on the fire and like check my pipes. So I'd put it down and be like, man, I've been in this battle for a while, just waiting.
Also, I liked how the battle system was set up as far as like you could use abilities like scan to kind of also identify. Like I like how the abilities were. You had them also segmented under special, under I think under white magic, black magic. I did kind of keep it fairly simple in that regard. Was weird also was you actually automatically had the ability to change out your weapon depending on your foes. It is counted as a turn. That's kind of interesting.
That was cool.
Or your armor or something of that nature. So that was kind of cool. You could do that. Like, okay, I'm going against all these characters that are, up in the sky. I want to have them all. Every one of my characters have a lightning base weapon on them. That way, when I attack, it'll hurt more.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm going against a character that constantly is poisoning me, I can put something that's poison resistant for armor on, or put something that is, whatever be resistant. And I liked how you could switch out characters very on the fly.
I liked you didn't get penalized for it, because all I could think of was like going back to Pokemon, right? You pull a thing out that works against you. Here,
it's
like
your turn down. Yeah.
You're encouraged to swap. Like the game kind of says, like, oh, you can't hit this thing. I mean, it's too handholdy in my opinion on that. But
I liked how you
cool.
could pop in. Like I'd pop in. Who was kind of popping in and out? So I was popping in Kamari actually constantly because he had all my white mage like nullify stuff initially. So I had him have like, oh, I'm going against all these type of characters. I'd have him pull up like null freeze. So
gray mage.
Well, he's technically a blue mage.
So what are your like spell colors?
So like a blue mage will learn attacks from enemies on the map.
Yeah.
So like think of Gao. Gao would be kind of like a blue mage, or Strago would be blue mage.
And that's where he comes in.
Red mage is kind of a mix between black and white. Like they have some healing, but they have some attack-based magic. And it gets more complex. Like Final Fantasy's pretty set in their roles. Like they're well established and they carry across multiple games. That when Nick and I are like, oh, this person's a monk, it's like, well, we know what a monk is. A monk is a non-weapon using fighter character. No. A black mage is going to use elementals. A time mage is going to, like the name says, slow,
haste and slow and all that. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm trying to think of other things on this game that are worth talking about.
So I've been working towards also, which has been taking me a lot longer than you, Matt, is I've been going for celestial weapons.
Oh, so you've been like getting prepped for those?
Yeah. So
now,
that's
are those
what
like 7? Are those like the what do they call them? The mega weapons? I can't remember what they call them.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just your top weapons that you get. Like,
do you have to fight a super creature in order to get them? Kind of like 7.
You have to do like certain things, like to find. Like not only when you find them, they're not also the top tier weapon at the time. They're very basic, so you have to go through steps of getting them to what they need to be.
Yep.
So I've been just on Reddit and just reading through. I'm like, okay, I gotta go do this, go through this. So I'm just going through all these steps, and it's just very tedious. And it's funny because in the steps, it's like they make it sound like you can just travel between all these places and go through this open map so easily. Like, okay, it's not really like that.
It gets better once you get the airship, but it's never like the old Final Fantasies where you have an overworld and you can just go there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It make it hard because it's so linear. They do make it hard to do that shit. Yeah, let's want to do closing thoughts, and then John, you've got to figure out where you rank it. Do you want to, Nick?
Yeah.
Do your closing thought while John figures out where he wants to place this game.
God, it's long, and I think it's just me. That's probably me. I mean, I think the main playing the main is 60 hours. For this game is what I think just the main storyline. I think full 100% completion was 80. I think I saw.
Oh, you can go in the hundreds when you're trying to like people try to platinum the HD collection on PlayStation. Yeah. The hundreds to fill every grid.
So it's been kind of and that's something actually I kind of enjoy. I'm a big fan of the trophy. I liked it when Xbox and PlayStation had a reward system. Like when you completed something in there, I don't know. I like it. I mean, I think it was actually clever when RetroPie did it too. But I was like, unlocked
retro achievements.
So I love these. I love getting achievements and trophies. So I've been playing on my Vita and just getting all these trophies. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Matt for like 2 years never shut up about that.
Right? It's so cool. I wish
achievements.
You're such a dick. It's such a great idea. Play an emulator, get an achievement.
Well, especially if like it's something like really for the retro is probably really even better because like, okay, you're doing something that's like, hey, take Mario and fly him, X through a whole level without touching the ground or something like that. But yeah, with this game, it's as much as I think I don't like it. Sometimes I start getting into it, and what's leads me to be playing at the wee hours a night, and it's probably even worse that I have my Vita, so I'm like, oh, it's not like with a system you can just drop the controller, walk away. I can literally bring the game with me into my bed, and next thing I'm like, wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm fucking trying to beat this damn boss for the second time. Like, there's some bosses that are just annoying as all hell.
Yeah.
Especially that big one where you get the first time I think you go against, it's not Sin, but it's one of the things he sends after you. Like you have to take care of one of his one arm and take care of the other arm before it covers.
Yeah.
And that was just annoying, but
some of the Seymour fights are a real fucking pain in the ass too.
Yeah.
fucking see
So
here.
I mean, overall, I mean, it's definitely very playable for being as old as it is. Even graphically, I'm granted I'm playing the HD version, but it is still very playable. It's not. It doesn't feel like it's that dated. Comparative.
I'm gonna go before John, which is not customary for a show like this because normally the host goes last. And I'm gonna try to sell John on this. I don't think I'm gonna be successful, but I'm gonna try because initially when I had ranked this game, it was kind of mid to low. I did not like it.
Up there.
I didn't like it at first because I
This
was
is like
used
me trying to sell you on parties in college.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So the story, I think, John, you're gonna have problems with the cutscenes. They weren't skippable. I know you're going there. I'm gonna preempt that. The story,
Asian face that doesn't make a movement.
The story is confusing as fuck, as we've established. But what I will say is, as far as accessibility to a Final Fantasy, the battle system is very accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Once most battles are limited to 3 enemies, and to swap your characters out, and the game kind of handholds you. It is a good introduction into Final Fantasy mechanics in that it's not active time. It's really truly turn-based. It's using that conditional time battle. So there's no pressure. You have the time to think things through. I think it takes away a lot of some of the burdens that we come to expect in Final Fantasy. It streamlines a lot of it. I don't think the linearity is a plus in that category. But I mean, try to think of a game from this era, early in the PS2 in the life cycle, that looks this good. Try to think of something that is this ambitious. No Final Fantasy before this had voice acting, would have even considered it. And when they went out to do voice acting, they actually thought about getting big names to do it. I mean, when did that become the norm? It's not like they rested on their laurels. They changed the battle system. They changed the way you level. I don't know. The more and more I played this game, like, this is an ambitious project.
And I think they stuck it too. It's
not my favorite Final Fantasy. I think everyone's going to have their favorites. But I don't know how you can call this a bad game.
I don't think you can because, like, I never played a Final Fantasy game other than Tactics and the very first one. That's all I had for realistically a Final Fantasy background. And I think if I was to play this when it first came out, I'd probably be more enamored with it than I was now. And that's why I rated it the way I did. I think this game was ambitious enough for it to be strong enough to hold up into what is out now.
This is a PS2 game that we are playing in 2023. And it has a lot of modern sensibilities for a franchise that came out in the late 80s. John, your thoughts?
The fire and walks away.
The parts are greater than the whole here. I think I said that already. Music's great. The graphics are amazing. First time that they've done voice acting, so I appreciate the try. It was a little rough. I love the cutscene, like, animations. You're like, wow, holy shit, PlayStation 2. Like, this is legit. And then you see them in otherwise, and their eyes don't move, and it's all like kind of fucked up looking.
HD Remake did a lot of problems on that too. I sent you a thing. You've ignored the chat. They really kind of botched that, the close-ups.
Yeah. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's just I have a tough time getting through. There was no exploring to this really for me. Like, it was a lot of a lot of inventory and not a lot of exploring. I like that in in the older games where you can just go wander around and just, you get in a bunch of fights and you kind of get beefed up and then you find what you're looking for. This one, it was right down the corridor. Like
hallway simulator.
And also like, expand upon your tree and these spheres. And it's like, too many characters at once for me. I know we're differing on that. So yeah, it was above average in my rankings. It was above the middle.
So let's start with you and we'll work our way back. Where would you rank this?
I got it in 19. So it kicks Donkey Kong 64 down 1. Donkey
Kong 60. That is much higher than I would have. In fact,
I appreciate what it tried to do. Like, and just I read and I listened to a few things because I was so far behind, and they put a lot into this game, and it vaulted the series up a good chunk. Like the ones after this were pretty legitimate. I don't know what the top modern one is, but is it like 15? Is that crazy good?
No, 16's the new one.
Yeah, 16's on the PS5. 15 was the most. People had problems with 15. People had a lot of problems with 13. Like all the complaints you have against this, amplify that.
Oh man,
because it is much more corridory than this. It is literally a hallway. The file system's good. So I'm not. So you have it in your 19 spot.
Ooh, I bet this game's going to come in easy 16.
I'm shocked, John. For as much as you hated this being a 19 spot radically changes. I was joking that you'd be like the bottom 5.
So how do you guys do? You've been doing your rankings lately. So I went through when you finally put up the list. I literally took the game and I was putting it side by side from 1 all the way down until I'm like, that's okay. Does it beat this game? Yes. Does it beat this game? Yes. Does it beat this game? Or no. And then I'm like, yes. Then like that's where I stopped. I'm like, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think John is looking at it from a critical standpoint, not his own opinion, in the sense that like, he can appreciate the quality of something, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah. With other game.
Nope. Because Matt didn't talk about this game for 16 years that I've known him.
Well, John, just to put that in perspective, so 19 is Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy Tactics is 53. So you're really fucking the numbers for Nick on this one.
I think because you put it at your number 1 spot, like why? Why is Final Fantasy Tactics better than Super Mario World? It's not.
Oh, I know it's not. It's pretty much there. It's the only way I could even think of remotely giving it a better score where it deserves to be on the average.
So I think I was so mad because I was playing it on my phone, and then they were all like cheese lords, and I was like, "This is really a dumb story."
I thought it was an amazing story. I think that's the best story in a Final Fantasy. It's the only one that makes sense.
Tactics?
John, you like Game of Thrones. Why do you not like the story in that game? It was like made for you.
The only literally missing from the game is tits, because it's exactly
because they're all cheese lords. I don't know. It was fucking like
it is the best Final Fantasy story.
I'm standing here, George R. Martin ripped off
6 beats that.
Tactics.
Second best.
Six stories is way better. Come on now.
Yeah, but fair. 6.
You got a god clown. God clown. That's all I got to say.
God clown beats that. Fair. Second best Final Fantasy story.
Maybe.
All right. Nick, where did you place this?
I put this at 14, which would be pushing down Metal Gear Solid.
So between Mother 3 and Metal Gear Solid. Bold. I put this in my 16 spot. Below Cave Story, above Wario Land 3.
Ooh.
So what did John do with his unexpected high ranking? Just so that you understand what John did, Nick. He puts, and I, because he didn't tell me ahead of time, I can't give you the exact number, but Final Fantasy X now sits below Mega Man 3, but above Cave Story. So let me see if I can paste these in here just to tell you number-wise where this goes. Because you're going to be very upset with, I think, paste special unformatted. Yeah, fuck off. Okay, so Final Fantasy X is in our 15 spot. So, Nick, you pretty much guessed that.
Yeah.
As a comparison, Final Fantasy Tactics is... Where is it? It is 2 below. So Final Fantasy X, then Cave Story, then Tactics. Because of what John did. Now, I did not think this game is better than Tactics, but because of John's aggressive take on Tactics and his unexpected high take on 10 is now ahead of Tactics in our list. The fucking bold move, Cotton. Bold move.
I don't want to play chess with cheese lords.
Is next year the year of chess? Can we do nothing but strategy games next year?
All right. Actual strategy games, not Dragon Warrior.
We'll actually play chess on
Fire Emblem.
The year of the weeb goes to the year of the nerd. The year of the brainiac.
Oh.
The year of Bobby Fischer.
Yeah.
All right, so our next game, John, is your pick.
Oh yeah, we got to play.
Is that Empire Earth?
It is.
The Age of Empires knockoff.
Yes, and I hope I can run it. So
yeah. $60 on GOG, man.
I could be playing less of this than you played this game if I can't get this to run on Linux. I could be... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh. Do I need to mail you my CD?
No, I can get the game. Can I get it to run?
Yeah.
Hey, I just need to play 5 hours. That's the new bar, Nick. Because if you play 5 hours, you've met John at his level. Fucking 60-hour game. You played 5 hours.
I just couldn't.
So wait, no. Let's put that in percentage then, because that's all we had to truly play of. Whatever.
We haven't recorded in a month. He would have needed to like over a month. He would have needed to like play one day for 1 hour each week.
That's pretty much what I did.
Our tagline is like, we are 3 idiots attempting to do a retro gaming podcast, and we rarely finish the games we're supposed to. John, that's you. That is you.
You did 8.3% of actual play time. So what's Empire Earth?
I would venture a guess that if we took the amount of time he played on Battle of Olympus, which he YouTubed,
12 minutes.
He would have still played more with Battle Olympus percentage-wise than he played Final Fantasy X.
And he hated Olympus.
This is your fault because you were like, oh, you're the weeb. Oh, that's all we're going to do. And I'm like, hey, guys, maybe we should actually do something. And you were like, well, let's weeb. Let's just weeb together. And I'm like,
you should have picked 6 when you had the chance, you bastard.
I'm not going to pick 6. I'm not picking 6. Nope.
Okay, cunts. Stop.
Can't play a game that people want to play.
Hey. Main story, a median is 20 hours.
Of what?
Of Empire Earth.
You don't need to play that much of it.
No, that's
I need to play 2 hours?
No, 20 hours is to beat the whole main story of the game. So to put it in perspective of what John did, I need to do
7 minutes.
If it is, I'm doing it. I'm literally just going to start up, create the thing, and then peace out.
Set up your account and call it a day.
1 hour and 45 minutes, pretty much, is all I have to play.
Oh my god. The bare minimum. It's going to take me that long to buy it and install it. John, you suck. You've got to put more time into it.
You're the
persona. I'm gonna put a clock on me playing and just record it, and then just send a picture of where I am at 1 hour and 45 minutes, and just send it to you guys. Like, okay, done. I think I got the game.
Mail it in, baby.
Nick, we've got a limited amount of time. Do you want to do our socials and take us out before this thing says no more?
So
Minutes.
Follow us on our socials. So we do have a Discord. It's actually in our link tree that's in our socials. So Spindash Retro for both Twitter, as long as we're on there until we get kicked off. We can also follow us on Instagram. Again, same username. And listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. And maybe even now including Amazon, because we got an email that Amazon wants us on their podcast through Amazon Music. 4 people listen to our show.
Exactly.
There we go. New audiences. New audience, and we're making it.
Our moms and Jeff Bezos, the 4.
Jeff Bezos wants us.
And this episode, anybody with daddy issues.
Peace out.
Stop recording, John.
Bye-bye. Oh, yeah.